All right, good afternoon. I want to begin today by I want you to be able to understand the spirit of this communication, okay? Because I don't think of myself more highly than I ought, and I'll be honest, I'm not on some power kick, and I don't need to feel authoritative to make myself feel good. But I do want us to have a well-functioning school, and I want us to be excellent. So the spirit of the communication, there's an old adage, good fences make good neighbors. Well, why do good fences make good neighbors? Because they establish boundaries, okay? So that is the spirit of this communication. So, I'm going to be sharing expectations with you, but I'll be honest, I don't think these expectations are out of line, and I don't think they're expectations that the school board and the community and at large wouldn't have, right? I think these are expectations that everybody would say these are reasonable expectations, but I think good fences make good neighbors. So here we go. And what are these expectations for? Well, they're for a wonderful place called Orleans Junior Senior High School, where God has blessed me so abundantly with a staff that has so much talent and are such good people. But these are expectations for being a teacher at Orleans Junior Senior High School. These are my expectations for my teachers, okay? My teammates, all right? Here I am, I'm 2 years in, and 2 years in counting. 2 years, this will be my second year as a Bulldog, and I'm excited about that. And hopefully there will be several more to come, and hopefully we can work together and achieve together and win some victories, okay? But, what's a year one look like for a guy? Well, I'll tell you what a year one doesn't look like. You don't come in on year one and make sweeping changes, and you don't try to put your thumbprint on everything. That's foolishness. One of the least successful administrators I ever saw did that, and I learned from that. Year one is about learning and developing relationships and about learning how to navigate. And I don't think that ever stops, but what is year two about? Well, year two is more about, okay, I've learned about my people, I've learned about my building, I've learned about our processes, I've seen the good, I've seen the bad, I've seen the ugly. Now what are we going to do? What do we need to tweak? How can we move forward? And, I want you to know I kind of have some goals. One of my goals is I want to be in your rooms more than I was this past year. I'm going to monitor grade books more closely. I discovered some good things about grades and grading processes and some not so good things. So I'm going to monitor your grade books. I'm going to monitor attendance taking. We've got some folks who are doing a wonderful, wonderful job taking attendance in a timely fashion. And we've got a few folks that, need to kind of step that up a little bit. I want to see quality supervision across the board. And that is a big deal to me. And I think by this time you figured that out. I want to see us actually accomplish some of our SIP goals, and I want to see us tackle our school-wide initiatives. I would expect that Tim Day would be a bit more hands-on in this second year than he was in the first. Now, it is not fair to ask of others what you are not willing to do yourself. But understand, there's not a lot that I'm not willing to do. I've cleaned up vomit. I've cleaned up vomit here. I've cleaned up vomit at LCA. I will help where my help is needed. If I need to get my hands dirty, I will get my hands dirty. There's not a lot that I won't do. I do not think of myself more highly than I should. I really try to think of myself with sober judgment. I'm not perfect, and I'm certainly not haughty, but I will tell you, I don't mind working, and I don't mind getting my hands dirty, okay? All right? Because I can tell you unequivocally that if you want the path to excellence, or we can take the path to mediocrity, but if we're going to take the path to excellence, then I can assure you it will require going the extra mile. It's a lot easier to get here than it is to get here. Okay, and I want to get here. All right, and I hope you do too. All right, I have two precursory comments that I feel the need to really share before I dive in. One, a lot of my feelings about life come from my faith, and you don't have to have those same feelings, and I'm not cramming anything on you. I just want you to, I'm trying to give you the context to understand where I'm coming from. I don't think I'm perfect. In fact, I think that I've messed up, and I think sometimes I'm amazed at how dumb I am. And sometimes, I need help. I need guidance, right? And I need iron sharpening iron. I think the most perfect man that ever walked the face of the earth, we rewarded him by putting him on a tree. Yeah, how's that, right? But I don't think that I'm perfect, and I don't think that I know it all. And I covet your input, and I covet your cohesiveness and working with me, okay? All right. And I also want you to know that I do think we're a team. Together, everyone accomplishes more. And I love analogies. I love all these disparate people, right? All these separate people doing their whatever it is they're doing, but all converging to hit the bullseye. 1, 2, 3, go, Bulldogs. And you can say, well, that's corny. Well, I don't care if it comes across as corny or not. I mean, I try to be very open and very transparent. I believe it. I believe that we are all on the same team. I really do. I just need for you to simply do the best you can. I need for you to work hard. I need for you to follow policies. We've got to follow policies or we become our own worst enemies sometimes, okay? And every once in a while, I just need for you to sacrifice, and I need to sacrifice for the good of the team. I do these presentations because I'm trying to sacrifice for the good of the team. This is a lot of work for me, but I'm trying the best I can to help us manage busy lifestyles. I'm doing the best I can to try to help us navigate and manage time, but yet have effective communication and honest and open communication as well, okay? Now, if you will just do those things, and once again, remember, I'm not asking you to be perfect. You won't have a greater advocate than me. I'll tell you what, if you are on my team, you are on my team. And I will go above and beyond, and I will do everything I can to protect the people that are on my team, okay? And I hope you understand that, and I hope you realize that. All right, this year is going to be different. In your first year, you're doing the best you can. Sometimes you're too repetitive because you just want everybody to be successful and you just don't want to have conflict, especially not in your first year. But you end up saying things again and again and again. That's like beating the people over the head that are doing what they're supposed to be doing. And I just think that has to stop. So this year, I'm going to give you a friendly warning the first time I see something that's not in line with our goals or our mission or our policies or our expectations. Second time, I'm going to give a write-up. If it happens the third time, there's going to be a meeting involving representation. And I'm not threatening. I'm explaining that's the way we're going to do things. I don't want to do any of those things, okay? Let's just please follow the expectations and the policies, because I really and truly would never ask you to do anything that I wouldn't do myself. And I promise you that. I promise you. Okay? All right. So if I were you, I'd be like, well, what do you want? What do you expect? Well, okay. My first expectation is that you're going to do what you tell me you're going to do. So I'll give you a perfect for instance. We have to communicate. If that communication involves this electronic media, then you tell me that you watch it, and you tell me that you watch it in its entirety, and you tell me that you participate in it, then that is your professional integrity. Now, you got to take this into account. That is your professional integrity. YouTube will give me the diagnostics. YouTube will tell me how long the average watch time was on a video. If the average watch time on a 20-minute video is 10 minutes, something is amiss, right? So I need for you to engage. I need for you to be willing to go the extra mile. And I need for you to do what you tell me that you're going to do. And if you do that, I thank you. I thank you. But at the same time, you don't really get rewarded for that, because we don't really necessarily get rewarded for doing the right thing. Maybe not externally, but I can sure tell you that we will be rewarded internally. Okay? All right. What else? I need for you to read over a document that I'm going to include. It comes from West Washington. It's an excellent document. It's wonderful. Please read over it. I think this is well stated. All right. Now, I love pictures. I love analogies. This is the way I taught. This is the way I preached. This is the way I like to present. I love this picture because it's like, when you finally got it figured out, well, I'm going to say some things that I've no doubt in my mind you already have figured out. You know that I'm big on supervision. I'm big on supervision. Just because something has never happened doesn't mean that it won't. And please also understand, for those of you that get frustrated with me about asking you to be more proactive about your supervision, if something ever happens in your room and you're there and you were supervising, right, you're going to thank me. Because then, what's going to happen when you get into a bad habit and you're not supervising and something bad happens in your room and then you get sued or the school corporation gets sued? Because the burden is foreseeability. Well, come on, we'd have to be pretty dense if we couldn't foresee that a group of kids in a school setting in an unsupervised area could get into mischief or harm or worse, illegal activity, whatever the case may be. We would have to be pretty dense not to be able to foresee that, okay? Be where you need to be when you need to be there. We can tell time. We know when we're supposed to be somewhere. We are professionals and we're pretty darned intelligent people, okay? You know that I'm big on school policies, especially, cell phones, but yet I still went into rooms and saw cell phones during instructional time. Please follow school policies, okay? Please. You know that I'm big on time management. You have an 85-minute chunk of time, some of you. And I know that's not hard. Not easy. I know it can be difficult. Plan more than what you can accomplish. That's my advice to you. But you can't have continual downtime every day. And frankly, you probably can't give time in class every day to do homework. Homework is called homework because you do some of it at home. Okay? All right. I need for you to think out your processes. I know you can't read this and you don't need to. That's not the point. It's an excerpt from a grade book. Do you have a thought out rationale? Do you know what it is you're trying to accomplish? Because if you don't, then you don't, and you're probably not accomplishing what you want to accomplish, and you could have inflated grades, la, 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 la. That's another video, okay? Think out your processes. I need for you to be punctual. Okay, well, you mean get to work on time? No, that's an expectation. Everybody should be getting to work on time. Anybody can be late at some point, but everybody, it's like kids coming in your class. Kid comes into your classroom, plops down in their seat and says, "Hey, got here on time today." And what are you going to say to them? I'll tell you what you're going to say. You're going to say, "Well, you should have been here on time." All right? You don't get a cookie for doing what you're supposed to do. When I say punctual, I mean about due dates, getting grades turned in, doing field trip forms the way you're supposed to, communicating proactively with the administration or proactively with your colleagues. Those are the things when I say punctual that I'm talking about. Okay, I have a suggestion for you, and it's just a suggestion. All right, here it goes. I think we're successful here, but I think that if we really embrace a rationale here, a servant's mentality, I can only imagine how much more successful we could be on top of the success we're already having. Here it is, real quickly. So there's this story. So James and John, two of the disciples, come to Jesus. And actually, their mother was even with them. They come to Jesus, and here's what they say. They say, "Hey, one of these days when we're in heaven, or one of us would like to sit on your right hand and the other one would like to sit on your left hand." Okay. Well, the other disciples, when they heard about this, they were indignant. They were like, "What an arrogant request," right? And it led Jesus into this discourse. And in this discourse, I want you to think about this, and I'm going to read it to you so I get it exactly right. Here's what he says to them. He says, "Whoever wants to become great among you must be your servant, and whoever wants to be first must be slave of all." Now, we can sweep that off and we can say, but if we really ponder that, You're telling me that greatness is not defined by self-indulgence or self-accolades or my accomplishments. That's not the definition of greatness. Greatness is defined by my ability to serve others. And the more successfully I serve them, the greater I become. Boy, that's a fundamental American shift, isn't it? Wow. We don't get paid for everything that we do. That is a misnomer. We don't always get what we want when we want it, and we don't always have deadlines and expectations that we necessarily agree with. So how do we navigate that? I guess we navigate it by placing the needs of others above our own and by sacrificing sometimes for the team, or sometimes we just say, how can I help you? Or how can I help you more? Now, my gosh, if we were able to do that, I can only imagine how successful we would be, even more successful than we are. Perfection is impossibility, okay? But striving for perfection is not. Do the best you can. That is what counts. And it is. That's what counts. Okay, I want to dig a little deeper into a couple of those, and I want to move fairly quickly here, and I want to finish. I do want to dig a little bit deeper. All right, I want to dig into supervision, but I want to be so totally open right now and so totally transparent that it might actually be, it might almost be like I'm being inflammatory or something, or, trying to be abrasive, but I'm not. I just don't know any other way than at this juncture just to be so blatantly honest that no one can miss it, okay? You should be in and around your classroom when your kids are coming in and out. I mean, you shouldn't be in another part of the building. And I mean, it's wonderful if you have friends, and it's wonderful if you want to visit with them, but there's times to visit and there's times to do your job, right? And you can't be across the building, and you have a responsibility. So you know where you're supposed to be when you're supposed to be there, and you know that you're supposed to be there during passing time, and you know that you're supposed to supervise your kids. Please, just do it. Just do it. Just make it an expectation, and make it something that you do, and it's just part of what you do. If your students are going from point A to point B, so if you're sending students, perfect example, if you're sending them to the dog stand, you go with them. You don't send them and show up 15 minutes later. It's not Jerry Brown's responsibility to watch your kids when you go to the dog stand. It's your responsibility. It's nobody else's responsibility when we're having a school-wide function. You don't send your kids to the school-wide function and stay in your room. You don't send your kids to the school-wide function and then go sit off on the side and talk to your colleagues or play on your phone. That is not the expectation. You stay with your students. We don't ever dump our students off on someone else. Your students are your students when they're your students, and supervision, they're your students to supervise while you're responsible for them. And when Kate's having something over in the cafeteria, she needs you there. She doesn't need you off on the side talking on your phone or playing on your phone. She needs you up. She needs you moving around. She needs your help. We are in this together. We are a team. Together, everyone accomplishes more. Supervision, it's easy, but it's not easy because it takes effort, okay? Please put in the effort to do it right, okay? Kids on their phones in the hallways during learning time. We're going to talk about, I've got an idea to fix that, but we had way too many kids in the hallways, and they just go straight out in the hallway and start playing on their phone. They weren't leaving class to use the bathroom. They were leaving class to go play on their phones, and we've got to fix that, okay? And you've got to help fix that. And when kids come into your classroom after just eating lunch, they shouldn't have to use the bathroom. They had all kinds of time to use the bathroom, and they should bring their materials with them. Sometimes kids are going to have to be told no, and sometimes kids are going to have to be trained. And I understand that that can be unpleasant, and I even understand that mom or dad might be mad at you. You direct mom or dad to me, because if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing and you're upholding our school policies, I will deal with mom and dad. Okay? All right. Value. I cannot promise that students will value what you value, but I can almost certainly guarantee they will not value what you do not value. So if you come, they're looking at you guys, you set the example. If you come to an event and you go off to the side and you play on your phone, if you come to an event and you don't even sit with your kids, if you come to an event and you're way off over here in the distance talking to your colleagues, I get it, but do you understand that is not the engagement that is going to engage your students? That is not the example that is being set that shows the kids that you value it. Do you think for 1 second that every single presentation that Tim Day goes to, he enjoys or he really wants to hear for the 10th time? Okay? But I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go and I'm going to engage myself, and I'm going to provide the example that needs to be provided for our kids, because engagement begats engagement. Disengagement will lead to disengagement. You are their mentor. Please do not forget that. You're not their friend. You're not their cohort. You are their mentor. Okay? All right. Engage to promote engagement. All right. There should be little time for downtime. There really shouldn't be. If you got 20 minutes of downtime every day, there's no way you're getting through all your standards. And even if you said to me, well, I got through all my standards, then go deeper. Then go deeper. We can't have tons of downtime every day. We just can't. All right, I'm going to give you a TDism. We have a category for above average, and it's a B. And it's a wonderful place to be, okay? But an A is above average. How many people are really above average? If I was, hey, Jared Gilbert, if I was an above average golfer, that'd be cool, right? I mean, that'd be something to be an above average golfer, right? All right, but I'm going to be above average. Okay, so I'm suspect of the rigor when I look at a grade distribution and I see 12 A's and 1 A plus out of 13 students. And no disrespect. I mean, this is just food for thought. Even for the individual that that's just food for thought. An A is above average. Grades have to mean something, okay? They have to represent something. I would ask you to please begin with the end in mind. With everything that you do, please begin with the end in mind, understanding that it is a long, arduous, difficult journey. Okay? Please take your attendance right at the beginning of the period, turn it in. If that's not your habit, make it your habit. It will never become your habit until you make it your habit. And I had to do that in my career. I had to make it my habit. Okay? And please remember due dates. I want you to know that Bulldog Strong, I'm going to come into rooms this year during Bulldog Strong. I want to see how that time is being utilized. We should be utilizing that time very, very wisely. I'm going to come in. I want to see how it's being utilized. Okay? All right, things to remember, and we'll stop. Easier isn't always best. Sometimes you face difficulties, not because you're doing something wrong, but because you're doing something right. There's this misnomer out there, or this misidea that if I'm doing things right, then it will be easier. No, probably not. Probably if I'm doing it right, it's probably going to be more difficult, because the road to excellence requires an extra mile, and the road to mediocrity doesn't. And so, yeah, you're probably going to have more difficulties and have to work harder if you're doing it right than if you're just partly doing it. And so don't be intimidated by that, okay? Success is sweet, but the secret is sweat, okay? All right, last point. I love you. I do. You're great, fantastic people. I love you, and I will go out of my way to help you. And I want this to be me and you, and I know that may make you chuckle. I want to be yoked. I want to work with you. I'm not the guy with the whip. I don't want to be the guy with the whip. I want to be right there working with you. God bless.